Anacortes is a pretty nice place. Most of us are here because of that. It has developed over the last little more than a century, just because different people coming to Anacortes had different ideas and implemented them over time. But it was, the way it developed was sort of as a result of fishing, timber, other things that came along over time. Now I see this as an opportunity for us to actually take a positive step in trying to determine our own fate over the next few decades, rather than just waiting to see what comes along and knocks on our door. We want to have a plan so that when somebody does knock on our door, we'll know how it fits with the community's goals and how to guide our own development rather than being at the whim of other people who just happen to show up. So I think it's a really positive step.
Mr. Gear?
I can't tell you how happy I am that this has finally come around. It's going to create a vision where we can possibly plan out for the next 30 years, but we can also do succession planning so that the next round of council members and elected officials will have something to drive into the future with. The task force you're putting together, is there any intention to have a council member or two on that task force?
The temporary team is actually going to be looking at that and determining, and that's why we call it a temporary team, of determining what is the best makeup of that task force going forward. So they're looking at that now. Dean sits on the temporary team, as well as Ryan, so that as well as representatives from the port and the chamber. So I don't have an answer for you today, but that is one of the issues that is on the agenda.
Well, I absolutely appreciate the hard work and the passion that's gone into this, and this will benefit us for years and years to come. So thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you.
Mr. Petrus?
Just a couple of comments, Mark. What I like about the report is that you have taken an independent and neutral view of all the possibilities, especially in our waterfront land that's still available. You didn't push one idea over another. It's up to the city and this group to arrive at what's going to be in the best interest and use. I have to go back. Brian said, excuse me. Yeah, Brian.
Everyone's.
I always want to call you Doyle.
That's okay. It happens.
Anyway, he said 30 years. Well, I see this as being extended at least 100 years. The refineries came in here 55 years ago. And the refineries are still having a big impact on this community and will continue to have a big impact on the community. So when this thing, we're going to have to look at this as not being any 20 or 25-year futures look. We have to look at it for 50 to 100 years at least. And I want to congratulate the group. I went through the report very carefully, made copious notes, and I'm really excited that we have this first roadmap to guide us through this. Thank you.
Nick, some of us haven't been around long enough to know about the refineries. Sorry.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Turner.
Well, I'll thank you too for all your hard work. I have been concerned about our future of our economics here in town with the Burke study when it first came out, showing some lack in sales tax. We need to deal with that, but and particularly now that the economy has changed so radically in the last year or two, that I'm even more concerned that things are changing very rapidly, and some of the income sources that we could see in the future aren't going to materialize, I think, now that we thought they were. So things are changing, and so the comment that the mayor made that we need to look at some of the information you've got is probably very important because things are changing. But I definitely want to be a part of this. Nobody's running against me, so I think I'll be here for 4 more years. But so you can count me in. I appreciate that you've provided a spark maybe to get some conversation going, and I do appreciate the fact you've remained neutral, and that we haven't started off with some small group of people's ideas about how things are going to happen, and that we have more of open policy. I really do appreciate that because I think this is going to take a lot of discussion, but thank you very much for all this work. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Adams.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the task force for the report as well. And I know Mr. Kennedy couldn't make it here tonight, but you guys are all numbers people. There's so many numbers in that report. They almost drive you crazy trying to look at them, but I'm glad you were able to put that together in an objective report. Anacortes is challenging in the way that we have boundaries. We can only grow so big, and we have limits to that, our annexations and all that. And also, the choices we make, like Mr. Petrich was just saying, are going to stick with us for the next 100 years because we can only grow so big, and we're going to be stuck with the decisions that we make. And one thing I like about this report is it really shows some of the areas that we're starved economically, such as retail, and some of the areas that we have great strengths. So we can build on our strengths, but there's some low-hanging fruit out there too, some things we can really take care of to help our community in the future. And the obvious one is the retail sales tax. And streamlined sales tax is going to help, but we do owe it to our citizens to try to come up with some other options for retail opportunities in town. So that's one of the things that's real obvious to me.